things from an injury standpoint. Trey Wisner kind of banged his knee. He was available to come back in. We made a decision to go with Blue and Gibson. Jake Majors on that interception kind of took that blindside shot. He also was available to come back in. We decided to make that decision to hold him. And then Cam Williams, injured his knee there, tried to go. We'll get an MRI here this evening and see where he's at. So those were the three ones there. But more than anything else, it's I'm proud of our guys. We talked a lot about responding to adversity around here, and whether it's individual adversity or team adversity. And I'm really proud of this group because nobody hung their head coming out of Atlanta. It was, okay, let's go on to the next mission. Let's go win 4 more games. And you can't win 4 until you win the first one, and we were able to do that. So now we got to win 3 more. But you can't win 3 more if you don't win the next one. So we'll handle it accordingly with some time for the players over Christmas break, game planning with the coaches and making sure that we're ready to go come January 1st.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go ahead and go to questions. Raise your hand if you have one. Start with Josh over here on the left.
Steve, we talked a lot about Jaden and the season he's had. He had the angle early. He's had some ball security stuff. Just how, from a head coach standpoint, just how satisfying is it to see him play as well as he did on this stage? That's just what I told him in the locker room. I gave him a big hug and just tell him how proud I was of him. As I touched on the team adversity coming out of Atlanta, and we talked about individual adversity last night as well. And to think about that young man, fighting through the ankle injury earlier in the season, having some fumble issues, but continuing to practice well, continuing to be a really good teammate. The intent over the last few weeks, a month of the way he's been practicing, for him to have the night like he had tonight or today, just really proud of him. Because this day and age, especially in social media, our guys can get on there and they're going to read the worst things ever that people want to say about them. And, I'm sure there was plenty of stuff that people wanted to say to him about not holding on to the ball. But the fact that between Coach Choice, myself, our staff, his teammates believed in him, and that he was able to continue to work and improve his game, and then to have a game like this in the playoff, just really proud of him. But I think that is kind of symbolic of everybody on our team. Everybody's been dealing with stuff. We've been dealing with injuries and all sorts of things. And so, but that's if I know one thing about our team, that we respond. When times get tough, we respond, and Jaden was a great example of that.
On your right, Danny.
Steve, what was the message to your running backs and your offensive line in the 2 weeks since Atlanta?
I always put up what it takes to win each game. And, I cover it from a special team standpoint, an offensive standpoint, a defensive standpoint, and then a team standpoint. And one of the first bullet points I put up in this room was run to win. That we needed to run the football to win this game, and we're going to need to run the football to advance in these playoffs, and that's what playoff football is about. So we really challenged them on the run game, and from the opening meeting, getting ready for the ball game, to the intent in which we practiced, I thought we had a good plan. I thought Quinn did a great job. On both Jaden Blue's touchdown runs, those were audibles by Quinn to that run. And so, one, him handling the run game, and then two, that mechanism at the line of scrimmage of getting that check and then blocking it really well to spring him on those 2 runs. So there's a lot that goes into the run game. We always say the run game takes all 11, and all 11 did it tonight.
Here on the left, Jeff.
Coach, we've known for a while now that this defense is special, but the way they finished this game with the goal line stand and pass hit on 4th down, what did that say to you? Well,
it's just who they are, and again, we weren't perfect, and we got a little loose in the back end. They made some plays, and a credit to Clemson, credit to Cade. I thought Cade had a nice ball game for them, and he's a tough guy because, there's the timing throws, and then there's those off-schedule plays that he makes. But at the end of the day, when our backs were against the wall, what a stand from our 1-yard line to get that stop. And then I would have loved to finish the game with the last 7.5 minutes with the ball in our hands. We kind of stub our toe there, and the defense to go out and get another stop, right, when you got to have it. And I think that's a sign of a great defense. I don't know if this was our best game defensively, but when we had to have it, they made those plays. And that's, to me, that's a sign of a great defense.
In the middle, Eric.
Steve, just going back to the offense for a second. Can you just talk about the ability to start fast? I know that's kind of been a bit of a deal this year. You get the first open drive touchdown, the fourth time this year, you got an open drive touchdown. Just talk about your offensive ability to start fast.
Yeah, no, I thought that was big tonight. We talked about that in the locker room as we were taking the field, and we deferred the kickoff and they went down and got a touchdown. But then to go, 3 straight drives to make it 21-7, I thought we really took the momentum of the game at that point. And it was about execution, and that's, execution lies in the details. And I thought our guys were really detail-oriented all week, and they were detail-oriented the way they played tonight. And I think that showed up on our third down conversions. Granted, we were pretty aggressive on fourth down, which we're always going to be. And, we didn't hit that number the way we would have liked today. But I just thought the execution, there weren't even that many third downs in the first half because we were executing at a really high level. And that's because our guys were really detail-oriented.
Stay in the middle, Thomas.
Coach, you kind of touched on with Cade. What does he do to put pressure on the defense, besides his mobility? And from a former quarterback's perspective, how would you change or how did your evaluation of him look from seeing him?
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought the one thing that they do which makes it difficult is when they call the traditional plays, he's equipped enough to see your coverages and to throw it to the right people, and he's got the talent to make those throws. Then they call the designed quarterback runs, whether it's quarterback draws or true quarterback runs that tax you when you're trying to deploy people to defend them. And then he has the ability to extend plays. And how many times did he get outside the pocket and make some really critical throws for them? So I think we knew it coming in. It was all 3 of those things were going to be the challenge of trying to defend him that way. I'm proud of Cade. I've known him for a long time. I've been recruiting him, I feel like forever, when he was in high school. The fact that his career didn't start off maybe the way he would have liked at Clemson, and there was a lot of expectations for him there. But to come out and have the season that he had this year for them, to get him to the playoffs, to be ACC champs, that's a credit to him. He's a very good football player.
On your right, Kirk.
Steve, how much does moving forward this running game benefit you as far as other people having to scheme for you? And if you could just speak to the cross training when you had to use a makeshift line today.
Yeah, no, the run game is really important for us on a lot of levels. One, our offense is better when we can run it because then the balance can really kick in for us, and to be able to run it, to throw it, to screen it, to RPO, and not all those things were there tonight. I thought we were aggressive, and Quinn was aggressive down the field. We got a couple pass interference calls. He hits Matt Golden for a big one. I didn't see the play with Wingo on another deep ball, and so it kind of opens up a lot that we do. And I think naturally when we can run it effectively, and teams have to prepare for a lot when they're getting ready to play us. As far as the offensive line, I mean, what a credit to Trevor Gooseby. A few weeks ago, Kelvin goes down 7 plays in. He goes in at left tackle against A&M and then starts against Georgia at left tackle. Today, Cam Williams goes down. He goes in and plays right tackle. Jake Majors gets knocked out. Hayden Connor slides into center, and Cole Hudson goes and plays left guard, who had been playing right guard, rotating with DJ Campbell. And so, I give a lot of credit to Kyle Flood on that because he's the master of cross-training these guys and getting them to understand the why we cross-train. And we needed it tonight. We've needed it here the last month or so of this season, but today more so than ever of guys being able to play multiple positions.
Over here on your far left, Cedric.
Hey, Steve, to be tested like you were today against a great offense that gave your defense some problems, how will that benefit you over these next 10 days because it's easier to coach them up hard after a day?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the offense, coming out of the Georgia game. We had to challenge them. We didn't run the ball very well. And so then you challenge them and they can respond. And so the same thing now can go for the defense. We obviously have some things to clean up. But, I think that's kind of the beauty of this team. And we haven't been faced with this a ton, but the versatility we have as a team, we can win games a lot of different ways. And we can win low-scoring, defensive tight games, but we can also score points when we have to and extend leads when we have to do that. And I thought tonight, when they cut it to a one-score game, the response the offense had to Blue's long touchdown run to open it back up to a two-score game, that's what this team gives us the ability to do. We're just not one-dimensional. We're very versatile, and I think there's more there for us to even improve upon, and things that we didn't even have to use tonight that I think we could have if the game would have gone in even a different direction.
On your right, Anwar.
Coach, talk about your team's ability to respond to adversity. Clemson scores with an opening drive. It kind of hits you there. To the point you have the injuries, obviously, that is cut it to a one-score game, but they responded each time. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, that really was, I always give the guys a talk the night before a game, and it's ironic when some of the things you talk about come true. And literally my talk to the team after some of the X's and O's that were going to be needed in the game was all about adversity. And from going back to the summer, and we did our first Culture Wednesday, we talked about, one of our 4 H's that everybody wrote down was a hardship in your life that they had to overcome, and then how we overcome those things. And we talked about individual adversity this season. I talked about Cedric Baxter and Christian Clark and Derek Williams, being out for the year. I talked about Kelvin having to miss a game. I talked about Quinn, and the injuries he's had to endure this season. We talked a lot. We talked about ourselves and responding to the first Georgia loss, and then how we were going to respond to this time around. And so that literally was the whole talk. And then we did a culture activity where each guy had to write down an adversity that they had endured this season and how they responded to it. And then they had to write a note to another guy in the room that they were proud of how they had responded to adversity this season. So it's ironic that we got faced with the adversity we did tonight and then the way we responded, because they've proven to me time and time again that we do respond. And that's why I said a couple weeks ago, I have no pause that we won't respond. When we get knocked down, we get back up. And so proud of them for that tonight.
On your far right, Joe.
On the third and fourth down stop, can you talk about what you saw specifically, the Klubnik run and the try to hand it off, what worked on that play?
Yeah, on the Klubnik run, I thought we did a really good job of setting the edge. They kind of got into a little bit of an unbalanced look. I'd be remiss. I don't know exactly who was where on the play, but I know we set the edge really well, and then that allowed our defenders kind of inside out to make the stop when he turned up there on the one. And then on the last play, it just was kind of typical of who we are. We've got big people, and they know how to play a physical brand of football. And when we get challenged like that, it's kind of reminiscent of, we talk a lot about, we do team run good on good, and we're going to run it. And the defense knows we're going to run it. And I think that's part of our identity, that when we run it, can we go run it and get those first downs? And when the opponent's going to run it, can we make those critical stops? And so I don't have a lot of pause. Now, sometimes we can get schemed and get blocked and they get us. But if it's one-on-one and we fit everything right, I always feel pretty good about us being able to make those stops in those critical moments.
Over here on the back left, Brett.
Hey, Steve, you mentioned how special this environment was, having a home playoff game on campus. Would you be in favor of adapting the NFL model, and that you put all playoff rounds on campus until maybe when you get to the title game and put that in a neutral site? I don't
know. I don't. That's way smarter people than me, or maybe they'll put me in the room with some smart people to figure some other stuff out. Because we got a lot of things in college football, and this is kind of one that is kind of far down on the barometer that we're dealing with. But I don't know. It was a great environment, and I think we're going to learn a lot about this college football playoff from seeding and home games and bowl games and recruiting calendars and school calendars. There's a lot. This is first time out. And but I can speak to this. And I can speak to the games that I watched on TV. It surely created a great environment here. But as a fan of college football, last night when we get done meeting, to watch that environment at Notre Dame, or this morning when I'm up watching that environment at Penn State, gosh, it's great for college football. You know, I feel like the popularity of college football right now is at an all-time high, and people are intrigued by it. People are loving watching the competitiveness of the games, the parity that's going on right now in the game. Where it goes from here, I don't exactly know. Do we expand it? Do we not? What does it look like? But it surely has created a lot of buzz, and I think it created a lot of buzz all season long because there were more teams involved with an opportunity to go win a championship. So where it goes from here, I don't know, but it sure was kind of fun tonight. That was for sure.
Back right, Bob.
Michael Tapp had the big hit on Cade on 3rd and 1 at the goal, and then had the big hit across the middle to end the game. Can you speak to maybe what you think this meant to him to do this against, one of his closest?
Oh, I'm sure it meant a ton. I always like to say, sometimes you have your most fun competing against those that are closest to you, and I could say that. I had an opportunity to compete against Pete Carroll after I'd been an assistant for him for almost 8 years, and to compete against him, I had an opportunity to compete against Nick Saban a couple different times, who I respect so much. And so the ones you respect, and then you get a chance to compete against them, and then kind of come out on top. I know that I'm sure it feels great for him because of the respect that he has for Cade and the great wins they had when they were together at Westlake. And so I'm proud of Michael. I joked with him. I said, I think you dropped that interception on 3rd down just so you could make the play on 4th down. So, but the guy just continues to play at a high level, and I'm so glad that the media recognized him from an All-American standpoint. I know the coaches in the SEC didn't, and I think they missed the mark on that guy not being an All-SEC player, but you guys surely did, and I think he's more than deserving of the accolades that he gets.
Stay in the back right. You're up.
All right. Hey, Coach, congratulations on the win. Last year, you were so close to the championship, and for this year, what is your message to those players that were on the team last year to keep that momentum going?
Yeah, we don't forget. I think that's the first thing. I think we've got a group of guys that were here with us a year ago that didn't forget that feeling in New Orleans last year. And to get as close as we were and not to have that opportunity to get into that game, I think really fueled us, quite frankly, in the offseason, in winter conditioning, in spring ball, in those summer workouts when we're running in DKR at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 115 degrees, and why we put in the work that we put in. And, we're far from that. We got a couple more games to go to get there, but it sure serves as a great motivation, when you can get close as we were. And, like I told them last night, the other thing I said, we got to be really proud of one thing. Last year was a 4-team playoff. This year it got expanded to 12, but we were the only team of those 4 teams that made it back into the 12-team playoff. And so it's not easy to get on this stage, and they earned it. And they played really good all year, and then it was the focus was on one game. Let's just go win this game, and then we'll regroup and get ready for the next one. And so I thought they did a really good job of handling that. We all know what the end goal that we have and that we want, but that can't happen unless we focus on what's right in front of us. And I thought our guys did a really good job of that this week.
Got time for 2 last ones on your far left. Corey?
Congrats on the win, Coach.
Thank you.
I know earlier this week you mentioned trying to improve in the red area. What do you like about the way your team executed today, and also just your play calling from that side of the field?
Yeah, I thought we did a nice job early in the game. I really did. I thought that the execution was there. I thought we were moving the line of scrimmage pretty good, and so the run game was helpful. I thought it was a heck of a touchdown pass and read by Quinn and Gunner. That was a little bit of a adjustment to Gunner's route predicated on the coverage that we weren't quite anticipating. But that's 2 guys that trust one another, and you could feel Quinn's trust for Gunner. So all that was great. Quite frankly, I was kicking myself when we got stopped down there inside the 5 and settled for the field goal. And I was kind of kicking myself when we got the turnover and didn't come away with anything with points there on the 4th down. But hey, I think we got better, but I do think we can continue to improve.
Last one in the back. Sam?
Hey, Steve, I want to go back to the first Jaden touchdown. You mentioned Quinn Checked. It looked like you guys kind of had a moment of excitement after that because of the decision he made there. Can you tell me, as a 3-year starter, how often does he do things like that don't necessarily show up in the box score that had helped his team get here?
Well, what was interesting about it, I think it was maybe 2 days before the game, we gave him that look, and we were anticipating it could be one or another call, and we gave him the look, and we were giving it to him early. And so he was checking it really early, and I said, they might not give it to you this early, and we had a motion on it. I said, you might have to check it after the motion and then check the play. And sure enough, it happened tonight. He motioned Juan Davis, then he saw it, then he checked it and got to the run. So that's just time together, time on task, he and I, and him trusting, when we tell him certain things like that it might happen that way, him trusting it and then executing it. So kind of a cool moment, because that's having a 3-year starter who's been in your system is very comfortable doing that type of stuff.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Thank you.